So hey, let's change gears again.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about Final Fantasy. We've talked about food.
Uh, Dirk brought up Percy Jackson earlier, and I have discovered that I've rediscovered my love of Greek mythology. Now, young, like elementary school Chewie, I don't remember the order that these three things occurred in, but I had three great, like, intellectual loves. It was dinosaurs, astronomy, Greek mythology. I think in that order.
I had two of those. I never really got into astrology until I was older.
Astronomy.
I always do that, by the way. I always do that. I got into astrology later.
I'll come to your house and I will steal your pizza that just got dropped off, and I'll bring it back 2 hours later.
You monster. But I've definitely Greek mythology and dinosaurs. I mean, come on. Yeah.
And yeah, Chifuji and Chad's. Gee, I wonder why. Yeah, okay. It's because of Hades. Like, I admit it. I thought that Zagreus was a character that they made up for the game, because I've literally never heard of Zagreus. And then someone, I forget who, Latin V in the Discord server, dropped a link to Overly Sarcastic Productions.
Oh, they are great. I love their videos.
They have a series called Miscellaneous Myths, and this one was on Dionysus. And actually, no, I had Googled Zagreus to try to find a picture to use for a thumbnail, and before I hit image search, I saw that there was a Wikipedia entry, and I went, what? And I clicked on it, and it turns out Zagreus was an actual character, and I went, I had no idea, I've never heard of, what? And I dropped that in the Discord, and Latin V was like, yeah, I found that out from this Overly Sarcastic Productions video about Dionysus. And I went, ooh, so I watched it immediately. And I was like, that was really good. And then I subscribed to the channel, and then I fell down the YouTube playlist rabbit hole. And I've been watching the Miscellaneous Myths playlist.
Have you watched their series on Journey to the West yet?
No, because I've only watched the Miscellaneous Myths playlist thus far.
Okay.
Once I'm done with that, I'm going to branch out into other stuff. And Journey to the West is one of the things I was going to watch next.
Okay.
It's like an 8-part series or something.
And like they're still adding to it because
nice.
Journey to the West is forever long. So, but I also really love Red's series on tropes and other writing and writing techniques and things. Covers everything from anti-heroes and other like character types to things like different genres like science fiction or whatever, to like talking about foreshadowing and all these different topics, which as a creative writer I really enjoy the discussion, and she clearly knows what she's talking about, so I could not recommend their channel anymore. So glad you found it on your own.
Yeah, it's really good. And the thing I like is that it's not just Greek mythology. There's, let's see, I've seen videos on Japanese mythology, Mesoamerican mythology, Celtic, frickin' Welsh, Egyptian. Nothing Norse yet in the playlist as far as I've watched. And they're all like hand-drawn bits where the character talking it has an on-screen avatar, and then whenever she's talking about other characters, there'll be like a little drawing of those characters doing things, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
And really well done. And then at the end she sings a song that's relevant to the story that was just told while the credits roll, which is an amazing way to make you watch the Patreon credits. So that's pretty cool. And so yeah, I highly recommend Overly Sarcastic Productions. But like I've always loved Greek mythology. Like there was a book on the 12 labors of Heracles that I checked out from I'm pretty sure it was the elementary school library like multiple times. And this was not I don't know why this was in an elementary school library because not to put too fine a point on it, but this shit was real. Like even up until now, I sort of get annoyed when like someone had, oh look, it's Hercules and he's all nice and friendly and handsome, and I'm like, he was a crazy killer person. Like he was vindictive. At any point, his Hera could send a madness on him to make him murder everyone in the room. Like he was not safe to be around. And then Kevin Sorbo was like, Hercules, Legendary Journeys. I was like, piss off.
I was just gonna say it's because of Kevin Sorbo. You do know that, right? So, and Lucy Lawless.
Like I've since that's when I was younger, and that's not how it is. I've grown out of that, and I appreciate different interpretations of characters now. Like the Disney Hercules movie is actually one of my favorites, but I love how the it seems like the creators of Hades like did their research, because all of the character interactions that I've seen thus far, other than story bits that were made up for the game, other than those things, just general character relationships and whatnot all seem to be dead on. And the more I find out about who mythological Zagreus was, the more this seems to fit. I'm like, this is terrifyingly good.
Is it on PC?
Yeah, it's also on Switch, and I think it's probably on the other two systems. I would assume. I don't actually know because I don't have them, so I don't pay attention to that sort of thing.
Does it have adult content or swearing or?
Does it? It's on Switch, Mac OS, Microsoft Windows. Apparently it's not on the other two systems, really? Well, that's
yet.
Awkward.
I mean, if it's popular enough.
Yeah, it's on Windows, Mac OS, and Nintendo Switch, and that's it. Huh. I wonder why. Just...
I'm sure there's violence because you have to fight things and kill things to stay alive. Is it super graphic, or is it just like colorful?
It's very cartoony.
Okay.
It's hand-drawn animation. It's beautiful, but there's no that I can think of. There's no like graphic anything. Although I know you hear hell and damn every once in a while. I don't think that Zeus is like, well, fuck all this noise. I don't think there's any of that, but I don't pay attention to that sort of thing, but it's not ringing any bells.
So God of War, it's not. Okay.
No, definitely not God of War.
Just thought I'd ask.
Like Zagreus does, every time you die, Zagreus dies, and then he crawls out of the pool of blood or whatever it is that's back at home, and it's rated T for teen. Okay, there you go. Thank you. And that's how the story explains dying and then doing another run even though you died. It's because you're the prince of the underworld, so when you die, quote unquote, you just come out of the pool and do it again. Plus, you can pet the dog. And who's the dog?
Three-headed one, Cerberus.
Yup. Cerberus is there, and when you walk up to him, there's a button that says pet. And it's like, ah! And so I make sure to pet Cerberus every time I can, because he's a good boy. He's your best boy. Who's your big three-headed boy? Yes, you are.
And this is when the game had sold itself to Chewie.
Pretty much. I'm not even a dog person. I'm much more of a cat person, but as soon as I saw you could pet Cerberus, I'm like, oh yeah, game of the year, right there. But Ouch. But yeah, and there's so much of Greek mythology woven in here. It's not just, all right, here are some characters with the same names. Like Achilles is here, and then later you meet Patroclus, and Patroclus is bummed, and eventually you find out it's because
his uncle push him out of a window.
No, he's bummed because he's not with Achilles anymore.
Oh, that's right, wrong person. Patroclus was Achilles' friend during the Iliad.
Yeah, friend.
In the loosest sense.
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
how come T for teen?
Yeah, how come Aunt Susie is always single, but she always brings her friend over for Thanksgiving? Her friend, yeah. And yeah, a bunch of this is very understated. It's not like the game doesn't elbow you in the ribs and be like, "Hey, Zagreus and Thanatos be fucking." Like, it doesn't say that, but you could pick up on it if you're aware of that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And they might not be. I might be reading too much into that. I can't tell, but it's really neat, and like eventually you'll bump into Orpheus, and then eventually you bump into Eurydice, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, how come these two aren't together? And eventually that story will play out more. I mean, I haven't finished that part yet, but they at least have mentioned each other, and Eurydice's like, him? Mm-mm. And I'm like, uh-oh! So it's really nice. And then Hades is a great big dumb jerk, and then he might not be as big a jerk as you think. And it's so good. And it also turns out that I'm apparently really good at Hades. So, you know, that might have something to do with it. But I've always loved Greek mythology, whether I was good at Hades or not. So it's such a wealth of content, the Greek mythology as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, in the Hermes episode of Miscellaneous Myths that Overly Sarcastic Productions did, she points out, yeah, Hermes is literally everywhere these days. And it didn't occur to me that, wow, Hermes is everywhere these days. Like, think about, like, Goodyear tires have the foot with wings on them.
Right.
And she showed a bunch of, like, corporate logos that are obviously Hermes/Mercury. And I was like, holy crap. Because I don't think about that sort of thing, but because, you know, it's everywhere. Like Bojangles, you know, I don't think about Bojangles because they're everywhere and I hate them. So yeah, I have nowhere to go with this. I just love Greek mythology.
You love Greek mythology, and you're currently really digging Hades. So,
and apparently I'm really good at it, which is not a thing I can ever say about video games. Like, usually I am entertaining at a game, you know, enough to have people come watch me stream, but not like, no one comes to me for tips. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're anything like me, you're almost afraid to say when you are good at a game, because it's almost like you're just somebody else is gonna be like, oh yeah, and you're gonna realize you know nothing. Like when I really thought for a while I might be good at Mario Kart, and then I saw videos of other people playing Mario Kart, and I'm like, yeah, never mind. Maybe I'm decent for myself, but you know. But when you're genuinely good at something, you really got it on tap, that can be a very satisfying feeling. So good for you.
Yeah. like once I unlocked the ability to go back and look at my old runs, I went back to look at my old runs. I beat the first. So there are 4 sections, right? I think, what's the name of the first part? Tartarus, and then Asphodel, and then Elysium, and then Styx. And I beat the boss of Tartarus on my 4th run. I got to her on my 2nd run, and she killed me, and then again on my 3rd run, and then I won on the 4th run. I beat the boss of the 2nd section on my 7th run. I beat the bosses of the 3rd section on my 11th run, and my first clear of actually beating the game was on my 16th run, which is apparently really fast. And then I rolled the credits on my 29th run, which you have to be after you beat the game a certain number of times. The credits roll, and now you quote unquote finish the quote unquote main story.
They don't roll the first time you beat the game?
Nope.
Huh.
Because you're still doing story stuff, so you're not done yet.
Okay.
And so yeah, it was my 29th run, and it was actually the last time I streamed. I decided, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna talk through in great detail every decision I make during this game, because I stream it so much, and like new people are wanting to try it, and there were questions popping up in the Discord, and I'm like, I know, maybe I can be educational since I'm apparently pretty good at this game. And so because there are so many decisions, starting with, what weapon do you take at the beginning, and then which keepsake do you equip, because you've got a bunch of keepsakes that all have effects, and then when you finish a room, you get a branching path you could get this reward from the next room, or this reward from the next room. Do I go shopping, or do I take a centaur heart, or whatever? And then things like when you get a boon from a god, it gives you 3 options, and you have to pick whichever one you want. And I talked through all of my decisions on that, and just going deep dive. Okay, well, this boon is really neat, but it sucks with this weapon, and this one I don't even like, so I'm gonna take this one. But if I was using a different weapon, I'd take this one, and here's why. So like, I went in depth, and I cut out, like, I posted the first video. It actually went public today, and I cut out most of the gameplay of actual clearing rooms, because after you've seen that once or twice, it all starts to look the same, unless I was trying to prove a point. Like, after I got the chain lightning Zeus boon on my attack, I showed a bit of the next fight to show it chaining off and killing all the little enemies quickly. I was like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And then I cut to the next decision, And I left in all the boss fights, because the boss fights are the best part of this game. They're so great. But other than that, it was just me talking about whatever decision was in front of me. Like, all right, well, we could go here and do this, but I'm low on health, so instead I'm going to go do that, because that way there's healing, and this way there's only maybe healing. So, stuff like that. And I did one run where I, explained everything, and then I did a second run where I explained everything, and chat was like, yeah, this is good, do it again. I said, okay. So I did another run where I explained anything, and I get to the final boss, and something different happened, and I went, what? And then something different happened. And then the credits started to roll, and I was like, what? So it's like, well, now I can't use this as a YouTube video, because spoilers. But yeah. Like 14 in the Discord server put his stats of when he beat certain bosses and whatnot, and like they were all lower than mine. And 14 is one of those people that when he's in the chat, I'm like, dude, what do I do? Like, help. What does this do? You know what this does? I don't know what this does. Help. And hey, 14, what do you think? And so that was weird when he's like, I rolled the credits on my 49th run, and I went, whoa! Like, that's when I knew that this game had clicked with me, and apparently I'm pretty good at it, which is not a thing I get to say. So hey, if anyone has any suggestions for the Hades stuff I could do, let me know, because I love this game and I want to like get more people to love it. I was trying to figure out how to do a here's how you beat the bosses. But the problem is I really suck at the first boss. Even after all this time, a bunch of times I only barely beat them before I have to use a death defy. Which is frustrating. I'm like, oh yeah, I could beat Theseus and Asterius almost no problem, but the Fury? Nope. Like, that's just embarrassing. It's like, how can I beat the next to last boss so easy and the first boss almost gets me? That's sad, Chewie.
Well, you know what? I feel like in a lot of games, if the bosses are varied enough, and if it's not just a matter of this one is higher stats than the other one, but for bosses that actually require you to use different play styles, there have been games where people are like, oh, this is the hardest thing ever. I'm like, really? And I do it and I'm like, I kind of see what you're talking about, but it wasn't that bad. And there's another one where I'm like, I can't beat this boss. And I try to look it up online and I'm like, how do you beat this? And people are just like, by beating it. What do you mean? And I'm like, so sometimes I feel like some of that can be more subjective than others, you know?
Probably, yeah. I'm also really bad about forgetting where the traps are. I take a lot of damage from traps against the first boss, like spike floors and whatnot, because I dash away from the boss onto a spike floor and it goes, huh, and I go, ah, come on! Like... But yeah, it's an excellent game. Like, I didn't get the hype. People were like, I saw multiple people on either like Twitter or Facebook who's like, all right, my X run on Hades was with this weapon and I got this far. I'll beat the Bone Hydra soon. And I'm going, all right. Because I've played a bunch of roguelike games and I've never felt the urge to like share that sort of thing or keep track of what run I'm on. Like, that's not a thing that ever occurred to me to do for any roguelike game I've ever played. Ever. And even after I started this one, I'm like, this is good, but I don't get the hype. And then the second time I played it, granted, my first stream was 5 hours. My second stream was 5 hours. So after I got done with the second stream, so now I'm 10 hours in, I'm like, okay, I see the appeal. So roguelike games sometimes have a problem where there's like the narrative side of things, and then there's the gameplay and mechanics side of things. And because roguelike games are all about runs, you know, you start a new run with a new character and you go and you die, and then usually there's some way to like permanently upgrade yourself. Like in Rogue Legacy, you got all the gold that you collected on your previous run, you get to upgrade your character. Okay, well now I have stronger attacks and I've unlocked a new class. Blah, 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 blah. And I found the blueprint for a new weapon. Sweet. Or whatever, you know. And so you incrementally upgrade yourself, but the narrative stops until, you know, you find the next journal entry or beat the next boss or whatever. So you could have run after run after run after run after run of just no story whatsoever. It's just playing. But Hades, because there are so many characters and so much story, main story and side story and different relationships between characters and whatnot, that it doesn't ever stop. So even if like you get just as far as you got last run and you die, you still feel like you're making progress. Because you got to see more conversations, and then, you know, you and Hades had a tiff about this, and then, like, when you had this, you got this boon from Poseidon, he made some reference to something, and then the next time you talked to Hades, you brought it up, and Hades was like, don't ever say that to me again, you little bastard. He doesn't say that, but, you know.
Implied.
Pretty much. Well, the don't ever say that to me again, he totally said, but not the little bastard. but but like the story is always progressing whether you win or not. And if you're not progressing the quote unquote main story, then like you're working on some of the other stories that are going on, like the relationship between Zagreus and Thanatos, or Zagreus and what's the first Fury? I forgot her name, Meg. Or, you know, Deuce of the Housekeeper is being adorably awkward. Or hey, you're using Achilles' spear, and Achilles is like, oh, using my spear, huh? Or whatever, you know. And there's always more. And so, like, I rolled the credits really, really fast, apparently. And then other people haven't rolled the credits yet, but they're still getting new interactions between characters, and they're progressing. Like, I know there's one buddy who, I think he said yesterday he finally beat it with all 6 weapons. And he's way further in, like, game progress than I am. Like, I opened up Steam and I saw an achievement for a thing that I literally didn't even know what that was because I haven't unlocked it yet. Like, I don't even know what this achievement means. It was something about a companion. And I'm like, I don't even know what companions are. I haven't encountered anything about that yet. I don't know. And I don't want to know because I'll get there when I get there. So it's cool that no matter like how you're progressing, quote unquote, like gameplay wise, you're still progressing. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool. And I've never seen a roguelike that can weave all of these things together. Like the minute to minute gameplay is just fun and addicting. Like, that's great. The top down dungeon crawling, kill everything in the room without taking damage, you know, all of that. That's fine. But there's lots of games that have that. But the fact that the minute to minute gameplay is fun, and then the progression over the course of one run, you know, getting new boons and upgrading yourself and whatnot in the short term is awesome. And then upgrading yourself in the long run and upgrading, you know, the House of Hades and upgrading your relationship with various characters, and all of that is also going at the same time. It weaves all of this together in a way that I totally have never seen done this masterfully before, which is why I'm like, all right, what am I going to stream tonight? I don't know. Looks like it's Hades. And there are some times when I'm like, all right, I really should not stream Hades again. Like, let's do something else so people don't get sick of Hades. Like, and I only play on stream, so it's not like, so when I say, all right, I'm not going to stream Hades tonight, that means I'm not going to play Hades tonight. You know what I mean? Hades. Did I say it enough times yet? Dirk, Hades.
Hades.
It's not even a word
Hades.
anymore. And you could pet the dog. Yay, pet the dog. There's an
I like
upgrade.
dogs.
There's an upgrade you can get that's a ball. And it just sits in front of him. And after you get it, Zagreus, and you talk to Cerberus, Zagreus will say something like, "You're having fun staring at your new toy?" And then Cerberus doesn't speak to you because he's a dog. And so it'll cut to a shot of Cerberus, and the narrator will say something like, Cerberus chooses not to expend energy playing just in case he needs it to chase down a spirit who's trying to escape or something, you know. And I was like, oh, well then why did I get him the damn ball? Like, because he's a good boy, and good boys deserve to have a ball. So yeah, sorry if I gushed a lot, but it's a really good game.
You are allowed to enjoy it.
And not only is it a really good game, it's a really good game that I'm apparently really good at. And those two things don't ever cross over. So I have to, yay, whenever I can.